Hi, I'm Gidon from thetechnologyman.com. The Bluetti AC70 is a well-priced, well-spec'd portable power station. It has two 1000 watt AC outlets, super fast 950 watt mains charging, 500 watt solar charging when mains isn't available, and a 768 watt hour long-lasting LiFePO battery. This might just be the perfect power station for a lot of people. I'll run through its capabilities and thoroughly test all its claims to help you decide if this is the right power station for you. So let's take a closer look. Inside the box you get the power station itself, the mains charging cable, a car charging cable, a solar charging cable and the user manual. The AC70 has a 768 watt hour LFP battery that supports over 3000 charge cycles and weighs just over 10 kilograms. It can be comfortably carried with one hand with a handle around the back. You can see its dimensions on screen. It's really a smaller, less powerful version of the AC180 I looked at recently, and a welcome replacement to the EB70 I looked at in the summer, with some overdue upgrades that I'll cover in the course of the review. It looks and feels very similar to the AC180 and is mostly constructed of a hard plastic. It feels well made, but there's no IP rating, so you'll need to be careful using it outside. There aren't even any flaps over the AC outlets. The front of the unit has a DC input for solar and car charging, an LCD screen and two 1000 watt AC outlets. Bluetti has finally ditched the less common and inferior DC7909 connector for the DC input and now uses the ubiquitous XT60 socket, which I'm pleased to see. Then there's a 12 volt DC car outlet, two 100 watt USB-C power delivery outputs and two standard 5 volt 12 watt USB-A outputs. I'm glad to see two useful 100 watt USB-C ports on this unit, compared to just one on the AC180. The right side of the unit has the mains charging input and a grounding port, which I'll discuss later. The flat top of the unit is missing the wireless charging pad of the AC180 and many of Bluetti's power stations, and there's also no floodlight. The unit is operated with three buttons below the LCD screen, or the smartphone app. The power button turns the unit on and a long press turns it off. The power button also toggles the display on and off. There are separate buttons to turn on the DC and AC subsystems, which only operate with the power station turned on. If you press and hold the DC and AC buttons together with the power on, you enter the settings menu. The DC button then cycles through mains frequency, charging speed, power lifting mode, eco mode and Bluetooth. You can use the AC button to choose your desired setting. You'd normally need to do this via the app, so I like seeing these options on the unit itself. Press and hold the DC and AC buttons to exit the settings menu or let it time out automatically. The most significant upgrade over the EB70 is mains charging, which is thankfully pretty standard on these power stations. You no longer need an AC adapter, just any standard IEC mains cable or so-called kettle lead here in the UK. You can also charge the AC70 via a car outlet with a supplied car to XT60 cable, or via solar with optional solar panels using the MC4 to XT60 cable also included. The 100 watt USB-C ports are unfortunately only for output. You can't charge the unit with them like you can on the EcoFlow River 2 Max, for example. Mains charging is super quick in turbo mode, which you can set in the app or via the settings menu on the unit itself. Bluetti specifies 45 minutes to get to 80% charge, which I confirmed with my own measurements. It took 1 hour and 7 minutes to reach 100%. I checked the temperature of the unit whilst charging with my thermal imaging camera and it didn't get much above 40 degrees centigrade, which is encouraging to see. It's pretty quiet charging too. In silent mode, which charges at under 300 watts, I measured just 38 decibels with my decibel meter. This increased to just over 40 decibels in the default standard mode that charges at under 500 watts, and even in turbo mode it wasn't much above 47 decibels. Both silent mode and standard mode are kinder to the battery, so I'd keep the turbo mode for when you really need it. It's worth noting that the unit needs to be completely cooled down to obtain the fastest charging speeds. I had to leave it a good few hours after my discharging tests to get these maximum speeds. The LCD display on the AC70 is bright and clear and shows total charging and output power in watts and the remaining battery capacity graphically and as a percentage. You get an estimate of remaining charge time when it's charging and runtime when it's powering your devices, adjusted in real time. Strangely, as with the AC180, the smartphone app doesn't provide these estimates, but does show you technical information if you tap on the mains or DC icons. The latter is particularly useful when solar charging. The app home screen also lets you remotely toggle the DC and AC outputs. In settings, as well as adjusting charging speed, you can toggle powerlifting mode, which I'll cover shortly, and you can configure eco settings to customize timeouts for the AC and DC subsystems, configure the screen timeout under auto sleep, and upgrade the firmware. In advanced settings, you can toggle the AC frequency and turn on grid self-adaptation, which should be used if you're charging off an unstable AC source like a generator. The AC70 can charge off your car's 12-volt output with a supplied cable. With the engine running in my car, I got over 110 watts, which would take around 7 hours to completely charge the battery. If your vehicle has a 24-volt output, you could charge the unit at around 200 watts, which I confirmed with my bench power supply. It would take around 4 hours for a full charge if you have a 24-volt output. The DC input supports a voltage from 12 volts all the way up to 58 volts, which is great for solar charging. Bluetti also specifies a maximum current of 10 amps, but testing with my bench power supply, you're limited to 8 amps at 32 volts and lower. I ramped the bench power supply all the way up to 58 volts and set the current limit to 10 amps. At 50 volts 10 amps, you reach the 500 watt maximum DC input. As you increase the voltage further, the current dips, holding this 500 watt limit. The AC70 has a built-in MPPT controller for more efficient solar charging, and with its wide input voltage range, you can use pretty much any solar panel with MC4 connectors to charge the unit from any manufacturer. Even a couple of lower voltage panels in series should be still under 58 volts. Bluetti recommend either one of their 350 watt PV350s or two of their 200 watt PV200s. It's approaching winter here in the UK and it's been raining almost non-stop, but in a brief dry spell I tested solar charging with the PV350. I have no doubt that in decent conditions you could easily get 300 watts out of this panel, as I've seen with the AC180, but I barely saw 10% of that. The AC70 supports dual charging. You can charge off AC and solar at the same time. Free solar power will take priority over the mains input. I tested this out with my bench power supply. The combined maximum input will again be governed by the charging speed you set in the app or on the unit itself. The AC70 has a 1000 watt inverter with 2 AC outlets. These both have a pure sine wave output, important for sensitive electronics, which I confirmed with a graphical multimeter. If you turn on powerlifting mode, you can power purely resistive loads like heaters and hairdryers at up to 2000 watts. It does this by lowering the voltage, so use this mode with care and only if there isn't another option. I can run this 2 kilowatt heater with powerlifting on, but notice the voltage drops and the actual output is less than just running the heater in its lower 1000 watt mode. I turned off powerlifting for the remaining tests. The power station is fairly quiet. At lower outputs it's silent, the fans don't come on at all. At maximum output I measured around 45 decibels 1 metre away, and again the unit stays pretty cool. I couldn't run a 1250 watt Nespresso coffee machine on Bluetti's EB70, which also has a 1000 watt inverter, but the AC70 powered it okay, even though it did exceed 1000 watts for a short amount of time. And it ran the milk frother just fine too. Out in the workshop I could run my Bosch 720 watt grinder with no soft start, and impressively it could run my 1250 watt Titan SDS drill that briefly exceeded 1500 watts, which again the EB70 wasn't able to do. Unfortunately my small compressor did overload the AC70. It's rated at 1100 watts, but compressors have a substantial initial draw. If you do overload the unit, you can just turn off your device and turn the AC subsystem on the AC70 off and on again to reset it. It's important to turn off the AC subsystem when it's not needed. It's hard to measure precisely, but I found the unit dropped around 1.5% per hour if it was left on with nothing plugged in. Fortunately, you can configure eco mode in the app so that the AC subsystem shuts off automatically after between 1 and 4 hours when the output power is less than between 10 and 30 watts. The DC outputs have negligible parasitic drain, so I'd recommend using the 12 volt car output, for devices like this fridge freezer that will be left on for hours on end. The DC subsystem does also have an eco mode that can be configured between 5 and 10 watts, but in most situations I'd leave this off so the unit doesn't power off when you don't want it to. I tested the DC outputs starting with a 12 volt car outlet which has up to 10 amps regulated output, which I confirmed with a load tester. The voltage and power dropped if I increased the current further. I tested the two 100 watt USB Type-C power delivery ports charging the River 2 Max at its rated maximum 100 watt output. But these ports are useful for anything from smartphones to the latest MacBooks. I also checked the standard USB-A ports with a load tester. I got a little over their rated 12 watt output. It is a shame these don't have any fast charging support like Qualcomm Quick Charge. You can use all AC and DC ports simultaneously, and the unit supports pass-through charging so they can be used while the power station is charging. I measured the usable capacity of the 768 Wh LFP built-in battery. I ran a heater via an energy monitoring plug at around 1000 watts until the power station turned off. The heater ran for 40 minutes and consumed 669 watt hours. Power stations like this will always have some conversion losses, and anything over 80% is pretty good. The Bluetti works out at 669 watt hours divided by 768 watt hours, which is around 87%. I did a similar test using the DC output with a 10 amp electronic load attached. I measured 672 watt hours or 88% efficiency. These are good results, especially considering I was running the power station at close to its maximum output, where heat loss may decrease the efficiency. As a real-life test, it was able to run my EcoFlow Glacier in dual fridge freezer mode for around 36 hours off the AC70's 12 volt car outlet. The AC70 also supports a UPS mode with a transfer time of less than 20 milliseconds according to Bluetti. If grid self-adaptation is turned on, it might add a small amount of delay to the UPS switching, so I'd recommend ensuring it's off. Here I have my desktop plugged into the power station and the power station charging off mains. In this setup, the desktop computer is effectively running directly off mains via the power station. If there's a power cut, in this case I'm just disconnecting the mains plug, the AC70 switches across to its internal battery and the switchover is fast enough that the desktop computer doesn't notice. Like the AC180, the AC70 has a grounding port, and the manual has strong wording about it only being used grounded. There's no hardware included, so you'd need an M5 bolt, a length of 14 gauge wire, and if you were in a field, a metal spike to connect it to. Whether you need to ground the unit will depend on local regulations, so please check, but the likelihood is you'd only need to ground the AC70 for a more permanent installation. If you have the unit plugged into mains, it will be grounded, although this is unlikely to be practical. I'll provide a link down below with further information. Bluetti have come up with another great all-round power station, and for a very attractive price. It's currently around $550, but you can check the current price down below. For that price you're getting a very portable power station with pretty much every feature you're likely to need. It has fast charging, a good range of outputs including two 100 watt USB-C sockets and very flexible solar charging options. It also comes with a 5-year warranty, although that is one area I can't test, so please do let myself and others know down in the comments what sort of experiences you've had with Bluetti customer support. If I was being really picky, I'd like at least one 140 watt USB-C charging port to really future-proof the unit. And a powerful floodlight and a wireless charging pad wouldn't go amiss. And I do still wish manufacturers would add some weatherproofing and ruggedness rating to these units that are going to be used outdoors. But if the output and capacity are enough for you, it should definitely be on your shortlist. If you need a little more output, I'd look at Bluetti's AC180 or EcoFlow's Delta 2. If you don't need as much output, the EcoFlow River 2 Max is cheaper, has two-way USB-C charging and weighs a lot less. I have reviews of all these units, there'll be links on screen and down below. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the AC70? Is there another power station you want me to review? And as always, if you have any questions, please ask. I read every comment and will do my best to respond. I do hope you found this video useful. Please like the video if you did. I'm releasing videos every week on the latest technology and how to get the most out of it, so please make sure you subscribe. And don't forget to tap the bell icon if you want to get notified as soon as a new video gets uploaded. Thanks for watching.